Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of Just for Fun Reviews. I'm your host Azi, and with me as always is my boy Roy, and today we're going to be talking about Stranger Things Season 4.
Yeah!
We're going to...
Let's fucking do it, man.
So, seeing how Netflix is going through some issues, they decided rather than taking a playbook out of HBO's book, Disney Plus's book, Hulu's book, everyone else's fucking book, Comcast's book, and start releasing these episodes once a week. They dumped all but 2 episodes of this fourth and penultimate season. So if you haven't seen it yet, we're going to give a bit of an overview for non-spoiler section, and then we'll drop some spoilers, and we'll make sure to notify you when we get to that point. So we return to both Hawkins and to
California.
insert city in California. Was it just generally California? Supposed to be in LA? Like, where were they in California?
I can't remember. But I don't know. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Does it at this point?
It really doesn't. It really does not. They're in California. Honestly, it's just supposed to make them feel like they are worlds away.
Long story short, it doesn't matter. Just because they're not in Hawkins anymore don't mean shit's going down. It's still going down. You can't run away.
Basically, all you really need to know is that after the events of season 3, with Hopper seemingly having died and 11 being left alone, Joyce took her with them as they felt the need to get away from everything and start fresh in a new place. So Joyce, Will, Jonathan, and 11 all moved to California, leaving the rest of the Scooby Gang still in Hawkins. And the show does a great job of trying to pick up with everyone. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you grew up unpopular or were the victim of social pressures or bullying or anything like that, these first several episodes are going to be a rough viewing for you. Yeah.
Oh,
there's some PTSD.
it reminds me of a little bit of Keery, a little bit, where but it's to the point where it's like it's got that Keery vibe, bullies and everything picking on this girl, but in the end, it doesn't happen like Keery. Like there's not like things could have been a whole lot worse if 11 had got her powers, but I'm not gonna spoil it right here. But she did some things that yeah. Go ahead, John.
So relationships, it feels very much like we were picking up years later, or in the situation and the continuity, not so much, definitely years later in this. For the sake of the child actors who are now definitely pushing into their late teens, early 20s. But it's been a year and a lot of different social developments have happened. Relationships have fallen apart. Relationships are strained. And it feels like every season of Stranger Things breaks up the party at some point, which is the worst thing you can do as far as like a D&D term is concerned. You always want to keep the party together, but every season they find ways to split up the cast and then eventually bring them all in. This is the first season where that at the jump is the thing that happens, and they are so far apart. It feels very difficult to see them coming together by the end of this season. With only 2 supersized episodes left, I'm not entirely sure if it's going to happen. I actually feel like I remember originally the Duffer brothers wanted the show to conclude with a 4th season. They had that plan set in place, and they were telling in interviews that the show will only be 4 seasons. Then later in the game, they increased that to 5. So are we going to see that faithful reconvening of the team? We don't really know. And that's actually the hardest thing about trying to give our impressions or even to give a final score for this show because it's not over yet. At best, we can give you our based impressions. And apart from what I said before, that the early part of the show was a bit rough to watch if you have any sympathy or human emotion, I really enjoyed this series, this season.
That's it. You just enjoyed it?
Oh,
you just enjoyed it? I fucking loved it, man. I loved it. Goddamn, let me talk. I woke up I woke up at 3:00 in the morning to watch this. I had my Eggo waffles ready. I was ready to go. Got a headache from them Eggo waffles because of all the syrup. But damn, I woke up at 3:00 and it sucked because I couldn't binge watch the last two episodes. Well, not episodes 8 and 9, but 6 and 7 because I had to go to work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what the hell is going down in these last 2 episodes? So I got home.
Oh man.
I got home and I was with my girlfriend. I was like, look, there's 2 episodes of Stranger Things I gotta watch. Either you go to sleep or you watch it with me. I could care less. She watched episode 6 with me and she fell asleep on episode 7. And I'm like, shit went down in episode 7. How could you fall asleep on this one?
Yeah.
And then, later on she woke up in the morning. I was like, shit went down. She's like, what do you mean? You gotta watch this. You just watch it. And she hasn't watched Stranger Things from the very beginning like I have. And she's asking so many damn questions to the point where just watch the goddamn show. Watch the first season. Start from there. I don't want to explain everything. Yeah. I'm pulling up YouTube videos to explain the story for her, and she's still lost. I'm like, just watch it. Just watch it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this season. It sucks that we have to wait until July 1st for the last 2 episodes. I mean, we could have did the whole, like you said, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and do every episode week by week, which I feel I could have probably took that. I've been like, okay, I got something to look forward to every week. Now I'm like,
and
we'll wait until July 1st.
Almost every single one of these episodes ends in one of these episodes ends in a way that would have been a massive, that would have been such a great end point to then have to wait a week and spend a week like theorizing what's going to happen next or just discussing the individual episodes. Like episode 4 in particular was my favorite. It's the episode titled "Dear Billy," and it's such a good fucking episode. Stellar song choice, but
ironic song choice.
Yeah. The one thing I would say about the season though is that sadly, because everyone is so broken apart in this perspective, you have Group A, Group B, and Group C. Group A is where the majority of the plot is happening. Group C, it's like varying degrees. Group A, I was the most invested in. Group C, I was like halfway there, and then Group B, I was kind of like, yeah, y'all don't really have much to do right now. Especially at a certain point, because like one of the more principal characters in that group is taken away for a D plot story. So now we have 4 separate groups of separation, and the group they left behind, Group B in this example, which I will elaborate in when we can actually get into spoilers. There's like a moment of excitement, and then it becomes, okay, we need to figure out what the hell to do with these guys. Some of which are just lacking in characterization among the entire cast.
Okay, because I can kind of hint, but I could just say off the bat, the only group I didn't care for was Joyce and Murray? Or I can't remember.
Murray.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that
I actually like them. They're my Group C in this example.
I didn't care because
I definitely enjoy Murray, and Joyce is always like, I'm sorry, names.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. Jesus, I should always
come on, man.
Winona Ryder is always a plus.
Edward Scissorhands. Beetlejuice.
The only thing I would say against their group is there's a point where it looks like their story would have came to its close, and then it felt like it got extended. Like, your princess is in another castle, or this isn't the tallest mountain in all the realms. You got to go over there. Yeah, like I was like, that was kind of hokey. Oh well.
Well, I feel like they were the comic relief for the show. To be honest with you,
it offered opportunities to expand the cast just a little bit more and make some of the new characters that we got a little bit more permanent. Which we get a lot of new characters in this season, and not a lot of them can stick around for reasons we might go into later. But nonetheless, I want to get through this. I want to get through this part as quickly as we can, so we can talk spoilers, because I know you. If I just had to go off of this, then the show gives all the high praise for me. I don't want to give it any kind of value because
it's incomplete. We don't have
Game of Thrones is the best example. We have 2 episodes to find out whether or not they stick the landing. But nonetheless, so far so good. How about you, Roy? Like, if you had to give it your base impressions, not a concrete score, but your base impressions of just this the 7 episodes that we got, which I thought was going to be 6. I thought it was stuck at 6. And if it did stick at 6, this would have been my face at the end.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So to answer your question about the season so far, is fucking amazing. I don't understand. Like, I got people on my Facebook like, what the fuck happened to Stranger Things? It's not the same. It's supposed to be different, man. You can't do the same shit every fucking season. It's gonna get boring after a while. That's why I would still consider.
Still do the same shit.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. But I was deceived. Just like you. You thought it was 6 episodes or whatever. I thought it was 5. I'm up at 3 o'clock, and I'm like, I got time to watch all this before work. Forgot some of the episodes were about an hour and a half long, and I'm sitting here like, I'm looking at the clock, and it's like, I'm gonna be late for work. I don't care.
I didn't immediately binge Stranger Things. I watched it piecemeal over the course of a 3-day weekend. But this coming from a guy who binged the entirety of the new season of Love, Death, and Robots, each one of those episodes might range from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. I'm watching the Stranger Things episode. Is this still the same fucking episode? Oh shit. It's this long. Okay. All right. So I got like another half. All right. So if you haven't seen Stranger Things season 4, or the first 7 episodes of it anyway, this is your stopping point. This is your warning. If you go past here, don't be coming at me. All right. We're going to be talking all the spoilers, everything. Okay. That being said, fuck Mike. Sorry. Oh God. For a girl who loves to say friends don't lie, 11 was real quick to paint a very rosy version of how her life is, solely for the fact that she wanted Mike to think that she was okay. But on the flip side, Mike needs to shit or get off the fucking pot with this fucking relationship. In the course of a year, it went from, in the last season, Mike accidentally said "I love you" in a cathartic moment when he thought that 11 couldn't hear. She could obviously hear, and that was resolved towards the end, to being incapable of committing to the relationship or saying "I love you" in any letter, despite the fact that this girl is so extremely isolated. Will can't act as her supporting arm like she needs, and she's just so ill-equipped for social encounters and high school. Every day is torture, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it. And I feel so sorry for the actress that gets to play 11's bully, because
Angela.
If you know how
the bully's name is Angela.
But if you know how the internet works, people are going to basically like rage at this woman as if she's not just playing a part, and that she is in real life a bully who tortures kids. It's like, yeah, it happened to Joffrey. It had shit. So the actor who played Joffrey
had it coming. That's all I can say. You had it coming.
You had it coming. Ah, shit, man. No, after all the shit she did getting hit in the face with a skate, and then everyone's looking at 11 like she's the fucking monster. And then Mike's like, "What did you do, bitch?"
But yeah, she got decked in the face. Like first I thought it was just gonna be like a bloody nose, but nah, she hit it down to the part where your whole fucking nose cavity gets all fucked up, and she's like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
Service, bitch.
I'm surprised. But I'm surprised she didn't get arrested right then and there.
Nah, but
then it
yeah,
is.
11
It,
getting
hold on. It
11
is the
getting,
80s.
11 getting arrested.
It is the 80s.
Yeah.
Shit like that back in the day. We like they would just come kids fighting.
Not everybody has cell phones. They'll take a and cell phones don't exist, so instant notification to the police that there's been a crime, plus videos and pictures.
John, come on, they had cell phones. They didn't have smartphones. They had a big block. Yeah, this girl just got hit in the face with a skate.
Sorry, your call cannot be completed as dialed. But but yeah, no. I kind of want to make. I kind of want to do a rundown of each of the characters in how we what we get out of them from this season so far. So I already talked about 11. 11 goes through a lot this season, like a lot of freaking trauma. After the whole getting arrested, her police escort Juvie gets intercepted by the government types that are working for what's his name? Well, Dr. Owens.
Okay,
Dr. Owens, played by Paul Reiser, who presents to 11 the opportunity to possibly get her powers back, because there's a war coming to Hawkins, and she's the only one who could possibly save them. Which typically, her being the Superman of the series, almost everything tends to boil down to "Please, 11, save us." Not that the rest of the Scooby Gang aren't very much involved, apart from in the first season. And that's when 11 encounters, or we get the confirmation that Dr. Brenner's alive. At the very least, they gave him a visible scar,
which was hinted in season 2 with the episode. I think it's episode 7, where 11 joins up with her sister 8. I can't remember her name, was Callie or something like that. But yeah, basically when they went to go when they went to get revenge on the people that worked on them at the lab. The one guy, I can't remember the guy's name, so you can forget that. The one guy said Brenner is alive, and 11's like, I don't believe you, because what happened in the first season where the Demogorgon appears to have attacked Brenner and all that, but we just never got like an on-screen death. But then you see him show up here, and I'm like,
Oh, I liked, you had actually mentioned it in a previous conversation when Callie, or what was her number? She was number 8.
8.
Yeah, when number 8 gave 11 an illusion of Brenner, the illusory Brenner said, "You never tried to find me." And 11 while 11 had her power, she could have easily used them to locate and confirm that Brenner was alive or dead. As we've seen when it's not just like, let's remember, it's not just that she could find people that are alive. She could find corpses, like she found Barb's. But we get a lot of origin story with 11, and I wasn't there for it at first, because like we got these flashbacks towards the beginning where it looked like they were going to make it that 11, as like a 5-year-old, murdered almost all the other numbered children. Because you have to remember, she's 11. There has to at minimum be 10 others, right? So I was like, man, I think I'm like, is this a return of the "I'm the monster" narrative? Like
basically, because when
it feels like out of left field, and now like as a child, she has forgotten that she murdered all of the other subjects.
Yeah, well, like when I first saw it, I was like, man, they're gonna retcon her fucking story, man. This is fucking bullshit. And soon they go to the lab.
Gotta have faith.
Ooh, they go to the lab and try to get her memories back. And it's understandable that some people could suppress their memories. Some people don't want to remember shit. And just totally.
Oh yeah.
And this is a real life thing, so I can see this being true. Why 11 doesn't remember everything after the massacre at Hawkins' lab.
Let's go ahead and get back to that in just a second and move on to Mr. Finn Wolfhard's Mike. Mike is a part of the group that really just didn't seem, especially once 11 had left. Mike, for the sake of summer break, visits 11 in California with Jonathan and Will, and new character whose
Argyle
name was Argyle. Yes, played by Eduardo Franco. And that was the weakest storyline for me. Is everything having to do with California. As soon as Joyce was gone, and as soon as 11 was gone, we're left with Mike, Will, and Jonathan. Jonathan, who is having extreme difficulties with his long distance relationship with Nancy, and seems to realize that he doesn't think that the relationship is working, or wanted her to essentially read his mind. At the very least, it's not that I didn't enjoy when the screen was on them. Once 11 gets picked up, there's also this antagonistic element with the military, who believe that the deaths that are happening in Hawkins are being caused by 11, since she was billed as a long distance psychic assassin. So Jonathan, Argyle, and Jonathan, Will, and Mike are placed under protective custody. And that whole scene where the military busts in trying to find 11, that was exciting though.
I'm about to say, that was the exciting part of their storyline, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that was the most exciting we got out of that, because from that point it became,
because every time they were on screen, I'm like, oh, these guys again, And I'm like, okay, they're going to get Argyle to pick him up, and the doorbell rings, and I'm thinking, just like they were thinking, it's Argyle or somebody delivering the pizzas. Nope. Well, they started shooting up the whole house. I was like, holy shit. Okay, I'm in for this part. Finally, this got some action going on. And yeah, it, like you said, it was kind of like the boring side, but their comedy was a little bit, it was like that Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke, because fucking Argyle was always getting high.
Well, they had the opportunity to Argyle freaking out and then calming himself by going and smoking some pot was funny. But they are the only ones that really have, because they have the sense of urgency because they're being hunted by the military, but they don't have the same kind of sense of urgency like in Hawkins, where there are so many different elements that are hunting down our heroes. And this needs to be said. What they're doing with Will is queer baiting. It's not actual representation. They're not, and it's not like they're being coy about it. Like when Will says that he did his project on Alan Turing. Oh, you mean the super famous mathematician that helped win us World War II by cracking the Enigma box, who also was famously gay and was arrested for indecency and chemically castrated. Yeah. Will is definitely not gay, guys. I promise. It's just left to interpretation. Is literally what the actor said in an interview. And it's like, dude, it's not interpretation. It's obvious. And I don't see where this is supposed to be going, other than the guy who, other than 11, has been mostly a victim in this series, just being a victim by finally coming out the closet to Mike, who he's obviously infatuated with, and being turned down. Unless they're suddenly going to skew it that Mike is bisexual, and that's the reason why he can't commit to 11, because he's attracted to Will. I highly doubt that's going to fucking happen. So why do it in the first place? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was even getting those hints while watching. I was like, man, just come out and say it. Just stop dragging this shit on too long. When is this going to be revealed? To be honest with you. Like, is it going to be
Yeah.
at the end of this season? Because they're already in the threat of danger and everything. I don't want that to be like where some action beat is happening and then this comes in and kills the action. I don't want that to happen. You know, don't kill the vibe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. No. Worst timing is like they're like Vecna is attacking, and it's like, oh, by the way, Mike, I'm gay and I love you. It's like this is the worst time. Nonetheless, moving on. So we got so jumping over to, we already touched on Jonathan a bit. Jumping over to what is effectively the main thrust of the story. Let's look at the other primary members of the D&D club. So we got Dustin. Who was it? Dustin, Lucas, and Max in Hawkins. Dustin is basically the same guy that he was, and I no notes. Perfectly fine with that. Love him.
yeah, he's been pretty much the same throughout every season.
Incredibly consistent.
I gotta say, he's the smartest one out of the whole fucking group. Now, he has theories. They could be wrong. They could be wrong, but I'm kind of iffy on certain things he said near the end with the theory of Vecna and the Mind Flayer and everything. So I hope I'm wrong, but I hope he's wrong. But we'll see further down the line.
Well, no. I actually hope he's right. We can get into that when we get to Vecna in particular. But yeah. So Dustin has remained incredibly consistent. I think at best what it was is that like the only real character arc he's had in the series.
Did we lose him again? Damn it. John? You there? Hey. Nah, man, I think I'm good.
So I think like the only real story arc that we had for Dustin was that he wanted to get a girlfriend. In season 2, him and Lucas were fighting over Max. When he lost that battle, that was when he really got that camaraderie with Steve. And in season 3, we find out about oh no, what's her name? God damn it, names.
God damn it.
Susie.
Okay.
Susie.
I can remember what she calls him, Dusty Buns.
Dusty Buns. We get Susie, of which that's like one of the few saving graces of the California team is that like in the course of them trying to find where 11 is, they end up at Susie's and bring Susie in. Whether or not she's going to
in Utah.
Whether or not they're going to actually ride with, is Susie going to join them for the rest of the leg of this adventure? Who knows? But that would be cool. I like Susie. There really isn't a single character that I vehemently hate unless like the story actually wants me to hate them. But Lucas though, in the course in like the preceding year between season 3 and season 4, Max has dumped Lucas. Max seems to be extremely distracted with the ordeal that she's been through after losing Billy. And Lucas has come to terms with the idea that now that they're in high school, he does not want to be bullied anymore. So why not join the jocks and like cozy up to what are effectively the bullies? So he kind of like he ostracizes himself from his own friend group solely for the sake of having a better high school time. So, and it's understandable, but too often Lucas is used as the division in the group. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed with that. Glad to see that he eventually like bounces back from it, but still, I also understand that they used him as a perspective for this like sub-antagonist group that were the jocks, because the charismatic, handsome basketball captain was dating the first victim, who then turns his team into a vigilante group to hunt down the suspected killer.
Eddie.
The suspected killer, who's one of the best additions to the show, Eddie.
Yeah, it took me a while to warm up. It took me a while to warm up with him. It took I want to say when he went into the Watergate and he was talking with Steve. He's like, "Yo, man, fucking Dustin worships you, dude. I don't understand." You know, and then he was talking about Nancy. It's like, "Yo, those chicks, bruh, they jumped in without hesitating, man. That's like true love. I don't know what happened between you, but I would go get that back." I was like, all right, all right.
Oh, yeah, no. Eddie's an interesting character. He's honestly the initial victim, the one that sets the whole Hawkins train going. When Vecna takes its first victim, it's the cheerleader who, as chance would have it, had been hallucinating and was looking for a means to escape it. And Eddie sold marijuana, so she went back to his place in order to get some of the good stuff. And in the course of him looking for it, she dies in vicious and horrible fashion. Yeah. Snapping every. Like the special effects were a little bit lower than I would have expected out of them, but I was still sold on.
I mean, even though I mean, are you gonna have some like actual bones fucking breaking? No, it's gonna be looking kind of corny and shit. But overall, the show, I could see where the money went. You know, it's not bad looking. I compare it to.
Oh no.
We can compare to She-Hulk and everything we can say about that, but
hey,
that's for another time.
It's got time to improve. Damn it, it's got time to improve.
But yeah,
how'd you feel about Lucas though? I kind of went roughshod on that.
Yeah, Lucas is Lucas. That's how I feel. I mean, yeah, he was a dick in the beginning. Like, I mean, I can understand where he is going through. He's like, man, I'm tired of being picked on and shit. You know, I want to join the other side and be popular and not get bullied as much. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
it's an understandable motivation.
But at the same time, you know, shit's happening in Hawkins where now fucking supposedly shit from the Upside Down's still making its way into Hawkins, and he's got no choice but to protect his friends. And he redeemed himself. That's all I can say. He redeemed himself because if he stuck with those jocks any longer than he had to, I would have got pissed.
I fell for it. Honestly, I fell for it when he first tried to make contact, and then when they were looking for Dustin, when the jocks were looking for Dustin as a means to locate Eddie, Lucas quickly dives through the window into Dustin's room and uses the radio to try and like SOS or like red alert his friends. He gets caught by the jocks, who then he says, "I think I know where Eddie is." And they're like, from the camera's perspective, they're walking towards the camera in the woods. I was like, son of a bitch, did he just rat Eddie out in order to keep his fucking place? And I bought it. I bought into it. So when the reveal happens that they're in 11 and Hopper's old house, is like, oh, thank God. Yeah, get the fuck out of there, man. Yeah, okay. You're cool again.
He hauled ass.
All's well and fine. Yeah, he did. So moving on real quick, let's jump on what was the most recent addition to like the primary cast with Max. Apart from this season, I mean, like in the previous season.
She had a more major role this season.
Max. Oh yeah, definitely. Max was going through some shit too. Like it was a bit weird at first when she was that distant, despite the fact that like she has some camaraderie because everyone that's around her, all the friends that are trying to maintain their connections with her, went through the same thing she did. But granted, being there and having that shared experience doesn't exactly equate to the same thing as losing a stepbrother whom she feels immensely guilty about. So yeah, no, I have no complaints. Everything seemed fairly consistent, and let's see. Sadie Sink, who plays Max, sold it, man. Like I said, my favorite episode is Dear Billy, which was very focused on Max, and damn it, man,
Oh yeah,
it was amazing.
Because Max as a character, I have not like connected with since season 2, where she was first introduced, where she was breaking Dustin's high scores in the arcade, and then season 3, where she was just hanging out with 11 doing girl shit in the mall. I still wasn't a Max fan, but with this season and finally getting to know Max more personally and how guilty she feels about Billy, that's where I was like, okay, I can finally get more attached with this character. Yeah, I can finally be like, okay, now I can care about her as one of the main characters of the like D&D group, even though she don't play D&D. But
refuses
to play D&D. But playing that running up the hill, I was like,
oh,
Jonathan's gonna love this. Jonathan's gonna love this.
Fucking loved it, man. It's not even the version of the song that I like the best, but still, no. And honestly, like, great emotional performance when she's speaking to Billy at his grave. But yeah, I think Max is doing great. Like, there are lingering questions as to whether or not after her close call is she still a target, or because it seems like there's a bit of inconsistency as to whether or not like Vecna can only go after one person once, though he does mention later in the show to Nancy that he was going to go back and get his dad. But who knows?
Getting the check back in. But yeah,
I've been meaning to get back to that.
Yeah, because once she got out of that with running up the hill song and shit, she's been wearing this shit the whole time. Which, by the way, what fucking batteries are they using in this year? There ain't no damn Duracell. How are they playing this? The cassette tapes and flashlights and radios? What batteries are they using? For real? That's Roy thinking about the important issues when it comes to shows. It's like, what kind of fucking batteries they got in the 80s? Because our batteries are shit. I mean, I can't last 5 hours with this goddamn controller. Fuck these batteries.
That's Microsoft.
Yeah,
nonetheless. So sticking with the Hawkins gang, Steve and Robin's relationship is still one of the highlights. I love how, like, almost like ripping the audience, Steve is constantly complaining about being the babysitter. And though I feel like they're baiting us or dabbling with this like love triangle with Nancy and Steve and Jonathan in the distance as to whether or not someone else that I saw said that it seems like the writers are second guessing their decision to match Jonathan with Nancy and are using this season to essentially go, maybe she'll get back with Steve. Who knows? So I'm not typically a fan of that per se. I mean, relationships fall in and out all the fucking time. I just I thought we had moved on from that. Like, is it necessary for Steve to get back with Nancy? Like, there's so many girls that he's dating in the freaking show.
Steve needs to get back with Nancy. This is what I want. Steve needs to get back with Nancy. Steve needs to get back with Nancy.
Roy ships Steve and Nancy. I'm
on the Steve and Nancy ship,
Steve
buddy.
He's a Steve Nancy shipper.
Can I get on the Nancy and Robin ship?
Robin is great. I love how she's like desperately trying to make like establish some kind of connection with Nancy, despite the fact that they're two very different people, and her struggles with trying to open up to the person that she has a crush on feels like it's like, if we had to compare it, seems like a story about a gay relationship that could actually end with something vaguely positive, rather than the inevitable train wreck that it seems like Will's story is eventually going to be if they ever allow him to come out of that closet. It's like when you have Robin's story right there, was Will's necessary, or had they already laid the tracks in earlier seasons, and now they have to let that train run. Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, no, Robin's great. We need more Erica. I felt like in the last season she was gonna be there, and she is kind of there, but they like the whole D&D fight during the course of the basketball game. I loved it. I mean, I'm a nerd, and I wish I could be playing D&D.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Right now,
I'm not gonna lie. They made me want to play D&D with that episode where Erica was in there. So I like
D&D is fun. It's just like I don't want to DM. That's the whole problem.
I mean,
there are plenty of people in the vicinity that'll play D&D with me if someone would DM, and everybody's like,
but continue.
So you gonna do it?
Continue talking when I try to grab this damn thing. Okay, I got it. Yeah, somebody play D&D with me. I got the Stranger Things D&D.
Oh, great. Specifically that one. Nonetheless. But anyway, the one like section that we haven't touched on yet is Winona Ryder and who plays Joyce, obviously, and I'm trying to get his actual name since I started off with it. Oh,
I gotta hand it to you, commies. You're committed.
Where the frick are you? Oh no. Shit, he should be high. Oh, there he is. Brett Gelman as Murray.
You know what? I haven't opened this, so I guess I will open this now.
I know you said that you weren't enjoying it, but I was. I actually really liked the chemistry between Murray and Joyce.
I'm not saying it wasn't enjoyable, but I felt like that was where the comedy needed to be. I couldn't take their story. Like, first of all, okay.
Your fingers are arrows.
First of all, Joyce, I don't know what Joyce's job is, but just grabbing $40,000 out of the bank.
Well, I mean, they moved. Like, how much money did they really have in Hawkins, and they were able to move to California? I feel like whatever Dr. Owens did to relocate them also gave them a nice little like side of change, so that they can.
Well, explain that, Dan, because I'm thinking like, yo, what the fuck kind of telemarketer shit is getting 40,000?
You know what? I actually was also kind of feeling that. It's like she can just go to the bank and get $40,000. It's like shit, man. Can I?
Right? Like I'm in the wrong job. Right.
This is the 80s. All right. So how'd you feel about Hopper then?
Okay, Hopper's storyline.
Most of his story had to deal with him in the.
Yeah, he was in Russia. You know, he got, which I feel was a bullshit way to bring him back. Oh, there was a lower level to the device in season 3 where he would have been evaporated. I just gotta go on a lower level, you know, instead of him going into the upside down.
I've seen a lot of people complain about that, but it's the least nonsensical explanation if you had to be freaking honest. Because as we see as the show goes on, it's not that the Russians have a gate open in Russia that he could have like popped out of. If he had gone into the gate, he would have been stuck in the upside down for an entire year if he'd survived it all, because there's nothing to eat.
Could have ate some.
Everyone kind of assumed that he the upside down. And not to mention, in this season, we learn more about how the topography of the upside down effectively functions. He would have been in what was effectively like a snapshot of our world from when 11 first opened the gate. So how would he have gotten to Russia unless he had to walk from Hawkins, Indiana, to Russia?
Okay, you got me there. Okay, you got me there. I feel like that's why they said, "Yo, is time stand still in the upside down," so Hopper wouldn't have to go all the way to Russia. But anyway, as far as Hopper's storyline, I enjoyed it. Granted, I hated the part when he got caught again. Because I'm thinking
that's what I was talking about. Yeah. That's where it felt like the princess is in another castle. This story is being lengthened unnecessarily. But what we got out of it though is we got to keep the man of many faces. Tom Bleschaha? Jesus.
the dude from Game of Thrones.
The faceless man from Game of Thrones. The faceless man from Game of Thrones. Okay, god damn it. Like he would have had a one-off appearance where he was essentially just the crooked guard who was helping Hopper get away, but now he's essentially Hopper's right-hand man in the course of trying to survive in the dungeon or in the prison. So I mean, you gotta balance the good with the bad. Like we're both upset that like the story got lengthened in that sort of way.
Yeah.
And fuck Keery.
Which by the way,
because of that, we got one of the best fight scenes in Stranger Things.
What are you talking about? The plane fight?
Yes! The best! The best fight in Stranger Things.
See my finger? You see it? Fuck you, man. That was not
Murray is a fucking black belt. Murray's a black belt. He's been trained for this his whole life. Or at least the last like 3 months.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, sure. Best fight ever in Stranger Things.
So I feel like I want to talk about number one at this point. As we left off with 11's trying to train to get her powers back, and that involves Dr. Brenner, who developed a machine called Nina that re-exposes it's like a sensory deprivation chamber, but it re-exposes and causes 11 to re-experience her own memories thanks to all the video surveillance that they had at the original project that created 11 in the first place. How did you feel about the reveal? Did you call it sooner than the show actually gave it?
Yeah, I called like when they first, like, because to be honest, one wasn't even in the picture in my head. I never cared about number one or any of the other numbers at all. Even when they showed 8 in season 2, I never cared about them. But
that was because they didn't touch on it at all apart from 8, and we were kind of just left to make our own assumptions. I assumed that they all died in the course of the experiments. And then when they dropped that, like, number one, like when they teased very early on in the season that number one was not to be spoken of, or we don't talk about Buono. I kind of assumed that he died. That was my first instinct.
Yeah, but I mean, when they were first, like 11 was talking to supposedly the guard before it was revealed to be 1, I was like, okay, honestly, clearly, you can't hide this from me. That guard is number 1. He's getting beat up, or no, he wasn't getting beat up. He was getting shock therapy after talking to 11 to get help on how to use her powers. So,
but he did a really good job. They did a really good job at utilizing that character to be 11's only real ally in her at that point in time, and gaslight her as to the situation she was in, because just like life imitates art. 11 was the victim of bullying now, and she was the victim of bullying then. Because, of course, there were older kids in the program who were jealous of 11's abilities when she finally showed them. She was the late bloomer among the group and didn't exactly manifest her powers immediately, so she was the kicking bag, or the punching bag. And after an incident where she gets bullied by several of the kids and the ringleader gets punished severely by Dr. Brenner, here comes the orderly, who we would find out is number 1, recasting the entire thing, and of which they keep momentarily showing what 11 actually looked like for this memory, and then mixing it in with like Millie Bobby Brown as she is right now, of which, god damn it, she just grew that fucking hair. Sorry, side tangent. So you have to remember what state of mind and how much of a child she was to be manipulated by this one person who showed her some kindness. He tries to save her, but then in the last moments, he reveals to her that he can't leave, that Dr. Brenner left something in him that prevents him from ever leaving. And the scar on his neck was when I was like, holy shit, he's number one.
I didn't have to wait that long. I didn't have to wait that long.
Not that I was sitting there predicting that the scar had to do with a device that dampened his powers, but just because I thought the scar was the number one. Like I was like, maybe on the first one they didn't get to tattoos, but then it's like, oh yeah, he has a tattoo too. It's all right, fine.
Yeah. So I mean, pretty much that whole reveal, not shocking to me. I saw it coming from a mile away. However, what was shocking was it wasn't 11 that killed everybody in the lab. It was number one.
Yes, I was so happy for that reveal. I really like we spoke about before. I really didn't want the retcon where suddenly 11 went on a murder spree and then just forgot she did it. And I've seen people complain because in that episode there was a fairly large exposition dump as we find out all the connected tissue that links number one back with current events. How did you feel about it? Because I didn't mind. I was like sitting there like, holy shit, it is all connected.
Me personally, I was all for that whole last 20 minutes of dialogue at the end. I was all in. I was like, tell me more. What? Like now,
I was in that. I was like by episode 4 and like the establishment of Vecna and his modus operandi. I was sitting there with questions like, well, why did he just like take a break? He like killed some people like 15, 20 years ago, and they're just like, okay, I'm full. And now has just picked it up after all the shit that went down with the Mind Flayer and the Demogorgons and the gates opening. What the fuck was Vecna doing? And it's like, oh, the murders at the beginning had nothing to do with the Mind Flayer or the Upside Down. It was just the kid, like, that was just how he liked to kill people.
Like, well, because that's what I believe the show would like. That house, like when I first saw the couple trailers, I thought the house was tied with the Upside Down. That's why shit was just fucked up. But as you said, why Vecna want to attack 20, 30 years later after all this doesn't make sense.
How did you feel about we set it up before. How did you feel about Dustin's evaluation that Vecna isn't the penultimate big bad and more of like the general for the Mind Flayer? Because that was the other thing that consistently I was sitting there wondering, it's like, are they going to answer where the fuck the Mind Flayer is right now? Because he's not dead. We had been shown consistently that the Mind Flayer can exist in the Upside Down and puppet things in our world, but if the gate closes, he loses his puppets, the puppets die, but the Mind Flayer's still there.
As far as that, I hope Dustin's wrong. I hope Vecna is control. Like when you first see 11, you like regain her powers and finally defeat one and force him into the Upside Down. At that time, you didn't see anything from Hawkins in the Upside Down. It was just like thunderclouds,
a hellscape.
Yeah, it was just hell. It was like a red sky in thunderstorms. That's all it was. There was nothing there that compared anything to Hawkins. So when he's getting struck by lightning and shit, I have people seen videos of like, oh, that's the Mind Flayer taking control of one. If that was the case, why didn't Mind Flayer send Vecna out to get 11 in season 3 instead of just the Mind Flayer making this big ass monster to go get 11? That's where I don't see.
Here's why I support the Dustin theory. Because like the Mind Flayer has essentially used a escalating scale of aggressive action. If you think about it, he first starts sending out or at least the Demogorgons start leaking out. He uses will effectively to like gain some foothold in our world, and then spends his time trying to expand the gate. So what we can only imagine, he can then pass through it himself, itself. And when that doesn't work, thankfully the Russians open another gate, and he then uses in order to give him craft a body for himself, he uses like a multitude of human victims to form some kind of body. And so now that hasn't worked, and now there is absolutely no gate, he's now using another psychic element that he has within his repertoire to force open gates in the same method that 11 crafted the gates. I actually really like the consistency in writing that we see here, wherein someone could make the complaint that it's like, why it seems kind of weird that just randomly, while 11's like shoving him against a wall, she pushes one into the upside down. It's like, but we already saw that happen. We already saw her from like a school chalkboard shove herself and a Demogorgon into the upside down without creating a very small temporary gate effectively. So thinking in that same kind of consistency, we've seen that it doesn't appear that Vecna can manipulate the beings of the upside down. He can control his mindscape, that red place that occasionally some of the characters wandered into, but he doesn't seem to be able to command the bats, which seem to be the new creature right now. And think about it, when he's in his seat of when he's in his
sanctum.
Sanctum. Yes, thank you. When he's in his sanctum, which is his old house, the tendrils plug into him so that he can then find his next victim. I don't feel it feels less like he has actual control over it, and more like that's just something that's something that's being given to him, like he's doing a job. I really don't think that he's going to be the big bad here.
Yeah,
that's just me. We still have 2 episodes. We still have 2 episodes to figure out whether or not that's true or not.
Yeah, because I mean, I understand where you're going, what you're talking about, but he reminds me of Thanos, man. He's like, you know what? I had the Demogorgon, I had the Mind Flayer. Fine, let me do it myself. In
like D&D escalation, Vecna should be the top of the food chain here. But when there's a gigantic just mass of evil, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Vecna will eat the Mind Flayer and become like
I said, I don't know. I hope I hope Dustin's theory is wrong. Like me, when I first saw it, my initial thought was not that the Mind Flayer is still in control. My thought is Vecna, number one, made all the upside down creatures. That's what I thought.
Well, that would be out of the that would be really out of the scope of his powers, though. If you think about it, like what he's doing, the only powers he's really displayed is, apart from telekinesis,
reading people,
the same kind of making a psychic connection, giving people illusions. All the powers that he's displayed have been set up in the series up until this point. Him being able to create life out of the upside down, I don't know. We haven't actually seen that, so we can't exactly run off of that idea.
I just hope it's true.
I have no evidence, but I hope it's true. Nonetheless, we ran on a little bit longer than I was expecting, and not without several times where my computer just fucking died. But if you stuck along with us, let us know what you thought about the first 7 episodes. Hopefully we find some kind of comfort food in order to sustain us until July 1st.
We got Miss Marvel. We got
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh wait. Doesn't The Boys season 3 come out?
I never watched The Boys yet, so.
Boy, what? You got homework. Anyway, Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Peace.
Deuces.